Yes, you are 42, 44, 46, and that protocol was never going to work for you. You cannot sacrifice your investment in IVF for their weekend schedule. You need this information to know if you're being gaslit or not.
Tasha, I was really drawn to you for IVF Companion, and honestly for my own purposes as well, because of, as I saw it, your no-nonsense approach, scientifically backed clinical companionship, the way that you support someone's protocol from medications and communicating with the doctor. So I wanted more people to know about you. That's why we're here today. And let me just start with, how did you come to be in the position that you're in now as a consultant for people going through IVF?
Yes, so thank you for having me, by the way. I call myself an IVF Success Consultant, but I've been doing this 10 years. The IVF Success Consultant started around 2022. I did my own 10 rounds of IVF, even though I was 33 and it was a male factor. That doesn't make sense, right? Somebody should not have to do 10 rounds of IVF. It was after that journey that I started researching why this was happening. And because I had become a fertility coach, that's what I would have called it at first in 2016, I started seeing thousands of protocols. From there, my science-minded brain and biology, chemistry started putting together formulas. And then I worked with brilliant endocrinologists to ask a million bajillion questions. That is an exact number. That is how I came up with the formula to IVF. Right now, for IVF is very cookie cutter. Everybody gets the same 3 weeks on birth control or maybe estrogen priming, 300 Gonal-F, 150 Menopur, and gets the same results. Not many embryos for their egg count. What I do, the perfect protocol approach, based on your levels, gives you the maximum output for healthy embryos.
If you're helping someone tweak their protocol, I'm curious, and they're saying these things to the doctor, maybe they're giving it the first shot. Do you ever jump in there and be like, let me get on the phone with the doctor if they're not picking up what you're putting down?
I do, but rarely. What I do is I write the questions out for my clients and I explain to them why they're asking. And I write it in a way where the doctors will respond better, right? Every doctor is different. That being said, when you ask a fact, what are we going to do about this issue? Or that there is an issue. Number 2, what are we going to do about it? Number 3, what do you think about statements? And that's where I come in and I interject. What do you think about A, B, C? What that is doing is teaching me how the doctor thinks about IVF, protocols, execution, and my options. And then from there, I will take the options and tell my client which one to choose. This way, we're never telling a doctor what to do. That being said, you are empowered to know the options that can fix that issue and what your doctor is and isn't willing to do.
And when someone's working with you, how do you know where to start?
Well, it depends on where they are starting. If we are looking for the next doctor, let's say we're in 20 countries. Let's say I'm working in a country, I don't know any of the doctors. I know what questions to ask to know how the doctor thinks about IVF. So you're going to get healthy embryos for 3 reasons. The starting protocol, the execution of the protocol. This is the biggest miss, I think, in IVF. And the lab. So if we don't know the lab, because I'm working in, let's say, Dubai. I have a bunch of clients in Dubai. I don't know the clinics there well yet. I don't have enough doctors that I know well. I can't necessarily focus on the lab. I need to depend on my client to research that and get referrals from people who have had difficult cases like them and been successful. But I can ask them questions about the first one, which is the starting dose, and the second one, which is the execution, to know they are going to approach your IVF how they should. Based on your biology, what I'm hearing is how they should be starting your dose and executing IVF. So that's how I'm able. So if the first step is choosing a doctor, that is the approach to choosing a doctor.
Wow. Do you find yourself working more with people who are at the egg retrieval phase or embryo transfer?
It's really both. I would say it's even in terms of about to do an egg retrieval, about to do a transfer, or and either one with baby number 2. I get a lot of baby number 2s, whether it's my own clients that just refuse to do it without me, or new clients that are like me. It was really secondary infertility that I had a 3-year journey with. So I don't know the split between starting with an egg retrieval and a transfer, but it's pretty even.
Okay. So when I first heard your podcast, like I just did like a cold search and you came up and I just liked what I heard right away. And so what got me was the clarity about, what did you call it? Money makers or
baby makers versus money makers, right? Or patient first versus profit first. Yeah. Practices.
Yes. I really got that. And then I think I listened to something else that was myth busting. I'm wondering if you could actually, regarding the myths, if you could touch on maybe just a few of the common myths that we find in fertility and how you view that, differently.
The biggest myth in fertility is that it starts with the egg. It doesn't start with the egg. The egg is a cell, so we need to look at the whole part of the body, right? And so if in my book, Kiss Your Baby Sooner, I have a whole book dedicated to improving your fertility. And it really is simple. Not always easy in our modern world, but it is simple. And the whole key is getting our bodies back to functioning the way that nature wanted us to, with restorative sleep, nutrition, movement, brain breaks. Those are the ones off the top of my head that I can think of, right? And really it is going back to basics, and it really is simple. We are not doing that enough. So your fertility needs to start with root health and foundational things. And from there, your whole body, all the cells will benefit from that. Okay. The biggest myth in IVF and fertility is that it's your fault. It's your eggs. You shouldn't have waited. You're old. Egg quality, maybe sperm quality, but even when it is a male factor, that's usually not talked about. That is the biggest myth, because what I see over and over and over again, I'm talking thousands of times, you had the wrong protocol for your biology, or the right protocol from the start that was not executed correctly. And this is where, no matter what your age is, what your egg count is, you can't do IVF well if you don't have the right protocol or the right execution of that protocol. So that's the biggest myth in IVF, that is your eggs and egg quality. I often say to my 40-something-year-old clients, yes, you are 42, 44, 46, and that protocol was never going to work for you. And I think that is the biggest differentiator. For your biology, do you have the right protocol or execution of it to know for sure that you don't need an egg donor to get your baby?
Man, I have chills because I'm a little sad, honestly, because I'm thinking of all the thousands of dollars that get wasted sometimes with the wrong protocol, whether it be like over-medicated, under-medicated, wrong medications, wrong timing, and timing comes up for me because I also heard you mention as one of the clinic red flags, right? If they are closed on certain days.
Oh, that is my biggest heartbreaking pain point.
Right, because what does that do? If they're closed on the weekends or one day of the weekend, what could happen there?
You can't get optimized IVF if you have to work within a schedule. If your body has to work within a schedule, we have to manipulate your body to fit that schedule. And you cannot do optimized IVF when, for me, if I'm working with a client like that, I just got a client where we have to work within Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The clinic is open 3 days. And so what that will do for me is that is a huge puzzle. It's not just going to be about, hey, this is the protocol and execution that's best for you. This is what I have seen thousands of times work really well for women with your biology. There's that, but then there's calculating in my head how the follicles are going to grow, which I can do pretty well. And then if the client has never had that protocol, there's variability, and making sure that it is fitting in on a certain day. So that adds a variability that I have to make change at the doctor. I have to talk to my patient about what changes to make so that they can make sure they're not triggering on the wrong day to then totally mess up their IVF. I can't tell you how many times I've seen where the perfect day for the trigger shot should have been on a weekend or should have been on a Thursday, Friday, and the patient couldn't because they're closed on the weekends. You can't sacrifice your egg retrieval and the investments that it takes. And I'm not just talking financial. That is the least important, I think, of all the investments, because we can easily get money back. You cannot sacrifice your investment in IVF for their weekend schedule.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, the emotional roller coaster, the time lost, the way you've reshaped your life to go through this process, like the side effects, which I'm all feeling currently.
Yes. And honestly, this is where, and I understand there's me, and I'm not saying, and not everybody can work with me or wants to work with me, but if you don't have someone like me telling you, you should have triggered on Thursday, and instead you've triggered on Saturday, that is 2 days of growth where, one, they could have helped by, like, this is when I have a new client, I look at all their medical records, right? They could have slowed down the growth starting Monday to help accommodate if they had to trigger on Saturday versus Thursday, but they didn't. And so if you only have Thursday, Friday monitoring, and then we do a trigger on Saturday, Sunday to accommodate their schedule, and there's not data there, like, there's just so much missing data and missing opportunity to make IVF work. So my point is, so often when I'm working with a new client, they had no idea that they should have triggered 2 days earlier. And that's really where, again, the myth of it's all your issue, that is your age. You shouldn't have waited. Like women really need more reasons to body shame, right? So that is where it is heartbreaking. My work oftentimes is so rewarding and so heartbreaking, because people really don't know what they're supposed to know with IVF. So again, my book, Kiss Your Baby Sooner, is 2 books in one. The book on fertility, but then the second book is the book on IVF. And this is where, if you are doing IVF, no matter how you're trying to get pregnant, you need this book. For the first book, with or without IVF. With the second one, I am telling you best practices for IVF. Read it. You'll know monitoring cadence. You'll know what to look for at each monitoring appointment. You need this information to know if you're being gaslit or not. With it's your age, it's your egg quality, you shouldn't have waited so long to have a baby, shame on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all that said, I know that we're not trying to demonize the clinics or the doctors or anything. Rather, this is just an acceptance of this is how clinics are functioning. You need extra steps these days. Maybe in the future, there'll be more research, there'll be more understanding, there'll be steps within the clinic that we need to get this done. But for now, this is the type of expertise and companionship that could really help change someone's life. Also, that said, I'm wondering if you could share a brief success story of someone that you worked with, just you helped them change their protocol, or you gave them questions to ask and something happened.
Yeah. Just going back to the clinic, understand everything I've learned have been from the most brilliant. I call them IVF doctors. I know there's, a term that's this long, but the most brilliant IVF doctors have taught me what I know. But like in every profession, there are a few exceptional, a few mind-blowing, oh my gosh, look at their work. A lot of average, which often they fall in the profit first category because of the clinic that they work for, because of human nature, right? Who doesn't want to make more money, in the same amount of hours in a day? It's just human nature. And then there are a few that should never have picked this profession and should find something else. But that's in every profession. So understand, when I am warning my clients about how this is run, it is not about bashing doctors. The brilliant, brilliant doctors that have taught me, they're like my heroes. Okay. This is about understanding the game of IVF, which is a profit center, and not getting screwed like I have in the book of IVF. I think I'm so funny, by the way, throughout the whole book. And the chapter is called How to Get Pregnant Without Getting Beeped, right? IVF. How do you get pregnant without getting beeped? That is the game of IVF. And if we don't know this information, unfortunately, this is a business. I always say to my clients, take 100% responsibility for building your family, but do not take 100% of the blame. And you need to understand the difference. And the only way to do that is by education. So understand that. And again, kiss your baby sooner, you'll get that education. Going to success stories. Oh my gosh, my head is flooded. So do you want to give me a category? Do you want to give me low egg reserve, high egg reserve? Do you want to give me transfer, egg retrieval, donor? What do you want to give me?
Sure. So I see a lot of questions when I'm trolling Reddit of like, oh my God, my doctor told me I have a AMH that's this low. It looks like I don't have much of a chance. What can I do? I mean, there's people coming in like that. So.
Okay. So success stories for low AMH, low egg reserve. Okay. So I have a client who over 8 egg retrievals, made 4 eggs. 8 egg retrievals, 4 eggs, not embryos, eggs. Okay. She never made it to an embryo. So she hired me because she was told she needed egg donor. And by the way, 80% of my clients come to me saying they need an egg donor. And I would say about 2 to 3% ever actually use one. So that's a statistic. But anyway, this is a real legit 8 egg retrievals, 4 eggs, never making a day 3 embryo. Okay. She is looking at egg donors. And when somebody's working with egg donors, I'm the one looking at the protocol, what to do. Like same thing as if it's my client, because it is just, third party. Egg donor was taking a while. In the meantime, she goes, I'm just going to try IVF one more time, right? The famous one more time. So I said, okay, but if we do this, I'm going to tell you what doctor to go. You can't just go anywhere, right? I'm going to tell you what doctor to go to. I'm going to tell you what the protocol should be. I'm going to be watching everything. I know this doctor will do, we collaborate a lot together. I know this doctor will do it. Goes to the doctor and 3 eggs are showing up. Only 1 starts to grow, which is what she has experienced, right? 8 egg retrievals, 4 eggs coming out. 1 starts to grow. That 1 egg became her baby. So she ended up freezing it. She was going to do a fresh transfer with a day 3 embryo because, again, she has never even made a day 3 embryo. So if we got to day 3, get it in as soon as possible. Well, there are certain markers that go with a fresh transfer. She didn't hit those markers. So right away, I told her, you're freezing. You're not moving forward because this will not work because you didn't hit a marker. At that point, her marker was progesterone before the trigger. It needs to be under 1.5. This is all in the book, Kiss Your Baby Sooner. You don't need to remember all this. But if for a fresh transfer, progesterone under 1.5. Hers wasn't. Okay, we're going to freeze that day 3 embryo. That frozen day 3 embryo transferred. Of course, then we prep for the transfer. Has to be no stones unturned when we have 1 day 3 embryo out of 9 egg retrievals, past 8 without me. And we did what we needed to, and that's her baby boy.
Wonderful. That's what we all need to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would say my most common case, though, is women with a great follicle count that make no embryos or none of them are healthy. That one, yeah, that I look like a magician with that one because that is such an easy fix because that is always, I don't even understand why people are told they need an egg donor when they have a great follicle count. I don't care how old they are. There's such potential, but always that is starting dose and execution. I can even have a terrible starting dose, but execute it better. I look like a magician.
Well, to be clear, if it's possible, what is a good follicle count? What's a high one?
Well, anything above 6, I think is a great follicle count. Like, I think 6 is my cutoff in my formulas for certain dosing. I think or five or under, and then 6, and then there's other changes that need to be made the higher you go because you need to avoid ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome.
Okay, we're coming up on our time, so I have 2 more things that I would just really love to ask you.
Yeah.
First, where can people best find you? I'm going to plug all your links and socials in the YouTube description, but, best spot.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Tasha Blasi, and then get Kiss Your Baby Sooner, and the QR code will lead you to all of my IVF Success playbooks.
So aside from the book, Kiss Your Baby Sooner, where do you suggest people go after that?
So once you have I look at it this way. This is what I've built. The book is the foundation. Everybody needs this no matter how they're going to try to get and stay pregnant with or without IVF. From there, you get access to my video and document playbooks. In the past, I've sold these for $1,000. They're just all free now with the book. The next thing that I would do if you're doing an egg retrieval, I don't have this for the transfers yet, is to get your perfect protocol report. It is currently only $197. And this is where you will give me your inputs that I need to build your perfect protocol. And you will get, this is the perfect protocol. This is a tool so you can know what to discuss with the doctor, specifically discrepancies. Tasha's saying that my dosing should be this. The doctor is saying it should be this. This is worth a conversation to discuss with the doctor.
Okay, fabulous. And I ask everyone this, what would you say from your heart to theirs, anyone going through IVF right now, what would you want to tell them?
I always say, if it doesn't feel right, it's not. Simple as that, right? You're being told something in your heart just doesn't feel right, it's not.
Thank you. Okay, well, Tasha, thank you so much for being on IVF Companion. I appreciate your expertise here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Allison here, and thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and better yet, subscribe so you can stay apprised of all upcoming updates and interviews. There's also a link in the description if you're interested in a packing list for IVF abroad. This was based on my 3 trips abroad in Mexico, where I really figured out what was best to have with me for going through such an intense process. Also, we have a meetup group, and there is a link in the description as well for that. Would love to have you there, where we can really figure out how we want to support each other as we go through any stage of this process. Thanks.